Is fear holding you back? Feel the fear, embrace the fear, and do it anyway. Today on the Carefree Cooks Code, I'm Chef Todd Moore, and this is the Carefree Cooks Code, every Tuesday live at noon Eastern. Here's our challenge. How can home cooks cook freely with creativity, confidence, and pride while ignoring recipes and still impressing themselves and others with what they cook? Well, the answer is found in becoming empowered with how cooking works, using dependable and repeatable methods of cooking that work for any ingredient, for any diet, and any desire, just like chefs do. And we'll know we've cracked it when everyone sees cooking as an exciting and rewarding way to improve their relationships, their lifestyles, and their health through better food and cooking. This is the Carefree Cooks Code. Welcome back to the Carefree Cooks Code, everyone. It's Tuesday. We're live together, and if you didn't get my alert and this is surprising you, this fact, you should have gone to webcookingclasses.com/live and registered for my free alert system, because we are the Carefree Cooks, right? What do? We create our own recipes. This has a tendency to bring your friends and family towards you. You learn every time you cook as a carefree cook. You define your own cooking style because you practice pro methods and you love your cooking. That's what being a carefree cook is all about. I'm so glad we're together again. I don't know if you're like me, but you look forward to Tuesdays from now on because we have a lot of fun together. I get out amongst the internet and amongst our carefree cooks and see what the latest trends are and see what you guys are talking about and how I can help. I want to serve. I love when I get the pride back, and that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. But first, we do have another little game to play, and it's the What Am I? So here we go. I've got all these ingredients. I made it as big as I could so you can see. So in the comment section below, what am I? Looks like we have yogurt, cucumber, some dill, some lemon, some garlic, some olive oil. What am I? Comment below and I'll tell you at the end, and I'll tell you why I picked this as well. But all those ingredients, what am I? It's the what am I for the day. You know, like I mentioned, I spend a lot of time walking amongst our large community, our large growing community of carefree cooks. You know, you might not see me reply to every comment or answer every question, but I'm in our private Facebook community all the time. I love hanging out with our carefree cooks because there's so much conversation going on there. There's so much discussion of things that people have tried, things that worked and didn't work, or somebody's got some trepidation about something they want to try and do. And I don't always interact in there because I don't want to interrupt the conversation. I have, and I've seen it happen before. I find that once I answer a question, the conversation stops, right? If somebody asks a question of our community and I come in there and I go, well, you know, here's the answer, you do this, end of discussion. You know, the rest of the people are like, oh, well, why should I bother helping out now? Chef Todd chimed in, right? No, you can contradict me, okay? My comment shouldn't be the last comment in a long thread. By all means, Chef Todd, I tried it this way, and my mom did it that way. I don't think I know everything, okay? I don't think I know all there is to know about cooking. If I did, I don't know, I just feel like I would die. You know, I wouldn't be moving forward. And over the years, I've learned a ton from my students. So I'm always keeping my ears open. I couldn't believe when I was in culinary college and with the jacket and the tall hat and how often some kid would teach me something that his mom used to do that I never learned in fancy culinary school, but he knew how to do it. He shared it with me, and the learning goes back and forth, okay? So secondly, you know, if I see the conversation kind of going aside or going in the wrong way, I'll always pop in and help. If you're really frustrated, if you really can't figure out why your hollandaise sauce is breaking or why your chicken isn't getting brown or any of those things, I'm there. But mostly, look, I just lay back, I watch what goes on, I see everybody helping each other out, and I'm really, really impressed. Plus, the other thing I got to do is grade homework every day. Every morning I get up, I go through all the submitted web cooking classes, homework assignments, people that are just checking in with us, most often the newest members. They're finding out that their oven can't be trusted, like we all have. They're starting to invent their own original dishes, right? They're trying to get that 9 steps in the basic saute method down just right. And the first time it does, it blows their mind. So I'm answering these questions, the pointing. I'm always answering these questions because people are like, oh my God, I made, a Alfredo sauce for the first time. I get these glowing words of confidence and pride that come raining back to me. I love it. I'm a fortunate guy, because every day I get up and I get to read comments like, I can't believe I can do this now. It always confounded me. I get a lot of, it was the best I ever made. And the other day my husband was even motivated to do the dishes. So that was okay, feed him well enough and he'll help you do the dishes. But I mean, this is where cooking brings people together, right? This is a forming of relationships. And that's the good part of all the things that I do. But this week, there was just like a different vibe to it. It was different this week. We welcomed more than 50 new Carefree cooks. And it just, maybe there was a clog at the door, a bottleneck. So just so many people are joining us as new lifetime members of web cooking classes, and they bring with them some of the concerns that a lot of us have. Or maybe it's the time of year, it's cold here in Baltimore. I know it's cold throughout Canada, the US, a lot of Europe. Maybe people are down a little bit. Maybe that's why I'm starting to read different words and I'm getting a different feeling from our community this week. And unfortunately, the word that keeps coming through is fear. Fear. I'm not sure why this is coming through our community lately, but I'm hearing so much fear in your comments and questions lately. I'm hearing things like, I'm afraid to buy a certain ingredient because I'm not confident enough to cook it right. I don't want to cook something new, or I don't want to cook something that's weird. I don't want to try anything new because of my lack of confidence. I'm getting a lot of picky eater stuff this week. Chef Todd, how can I possibly cook for my picky eaters? How can I learn a new way of cooking? How can I venture somewhere else and not get subjected to the problems with these picky eaters? I've gotten them to this point so far. I'm afraid to move past that. I'm afraid of ignoring recipes. I mean, how do I cook grandma's favorite dish? How will I ever cook it again if it's good, if I don't have it written down, if I don't have a recipe? I'm afraid that if I cook without a recipe, I just don't know what ingredients go together. I just don't know what herbs and spices to use. I don't know what foods complement each other. I need someone to tell me that, and ultimately, I'm afraid I'll fail. I'm just afraid it's going to be such a disaster that why even bother trying? Why just stick with, all the stuff I'm doing now, the comfort foods, the microwavable food, I can't even say it, microwavable foods, the gadgets that are out there, the things that just make it so quick. But, when I had all this coming at me this week and I'm trying to frantically answer, don't worry, no, it's no problem. I realized I've heard it before. I'm answering the same questions that I answered from a previous class of new Carefree cooks that came in. And it seems there's a cycle of every 30, 60, 90 days, I start to hear the same fears again and again. And they're really the same fears that I had starting out. That when I was thinking about changing careers 20-something years ago, just throwing my life away and going to culinary school, you don't think I had some of these fears? They're the same fears that everybody has in cooking. It's okay. But look, I want to tell everyone who's expressing their fears about joining our community this week, the only way to move forward, the only way to overcome them is to face them head on. Move toward these fears as quickly as you can. Feel the fear, embrace the fear, and do it anyway. I didn't make that phrase up. I don't know who to attribute it to because a lot of people take it. I heard it from a guy named T. Harv Eker many years ago. Feel this fear. It's okay. It's not going to kill you. You can move toward it. And you know, the other side of it is you figured it out. You made the best ever. Your husband is helping you out with the dishes now. The holy grail of cooking. They have a name for it. It's called majorakaphobia. And I've written about this for years. But, you know, one of the best ways to get rid of this, one of the best ways to eliminate any fear is to understand the source of it. Why is it causing you anxiety? Why is it fear? And I've worked with hundreds of professionals in culinary school, thousands of home cooks over the years, and they all have pretty much the same fears, whether you're a pro or whether you're at home. And the first is the fear of serving bad food. I mean, this is the status issue. This is the embarrassment issue. If I cook something for someone, a date, a loved one, someone on a special diet, and it's terrible, I suffer embarrassment. And I can understand why you'd be fearful of that. That's really uncomfortable. I talk to a lot of people that have a fear of the cooking process and find that often these were the kids that were shooed out of the kitchen when they were younger. This is no place for a child. You'll burn yourself. You might cut yourself. Were you told these things? Well, you don't have to be a psychologist to figure out why you might be a little bit afraid of the process of cutting a raw chicken. I can't believe how many people told me that they had to try and get over just touching raw food this way, touching a raw chicken. We're going to help you with that. This idea that you can't be without recipes, to me, I would agree with you on this if every recipe worked perfectly. If the set of instructions to cook something was perfect every time, you can trust it, but you can't. You can't trust recipes. Sometimes they come out right, sometimes they don't. It's really frustrating. So how does that help you? How does that allay your fear than what your safety net is going to be pulled out from under you? Let's not worry about following recipes for now. I hear people that are afraid of causing illness. Right? And their moms or their grandmas are in their head. You know, you might make someone sick. Has your mom or grandma told you terrible stories about undercooked pork and trichinosis? About salmonella in the Depression when we killed our own chickens and hung them out on the porch, you know? Okay, this is where this person comes in and they overcook things, right? Do you know someone that would much rather serve a rubbery piece of chicken than one that's pink in the middle? So they just keep cooking and cooking and cooking and cooking because they have a fear of making others ill with their cooking. And you know, there's another kind of fear. It's the over-perfectionist. Even if you're a really good cook, even if you think that you cook really well, will it ever be good enough? You know, like you're always scrutinizing, right? You're always saying, I could have done this or I could have done that or I want to learn something new. These are the fears that keep you from progressing past where you want to be. And they may not be out front, they may be down deep. I want to tell you a story about overcoming some of our greatest fears, mine and Heather's greatest fear. We had a time in our life that was one of the real down times in life. And I don't need to go into that story, but it's a point where things aren't going real well. And I mentioned a guy named T. Harv Eker, where I heard a quote, feel the fear and do it anyway. And he did an exercise with us that changed my life that I will never forget. And I'm going to try and give you the abridged version. Do you see behind me here, do you see these arrows, these framed arrows? They're usually above my head in Moore Publishing headquarters here in downtown Baltimore. And I look at them as I walk through that door each and every day, through and back. Every time I look through our door. And they're arrows. They're wooden arrows with a sharp metal tip. Now, when we went to see T. Harv Eker live, he did this exercise, 1,500 people in an auditorium, where you wrote your biggest fear on the tip of the arrow. Okay, no problem. I can write my fear on the tip of an arrow. Fear of failure was my basic fear at that point. I felt so down at that point. I just figured I'm a failure. I'm going to fail. Fear of failure. And you stand there with your arrow. Hey, exercise complete. I wrote my biggest fear on an arrow. And he says, no, get a partner. My wife Heather and I are there, and I want you to take the metal tip of the arrow and put it against this soft, fleshy part of your neck. Hold the arrow there. Have your partner put their palm on the end of the arrow and hold that arrow from the soft part of your neck to the end of their palm, and just stand there and do that. Say what? Okay, it's my wife. I love her. I trust her. We put the arrow at the soft end of my neck. She's got her hand out, and then Harv says, all right, when I say 3, I want you to shove as hard and fast as possible. What? Look, I love you, baby. Don't go hard and fast. Like he said, maybe go slow. No. Hard and all right, here you go. So arrow at the tip of my throat, her hand on it. 1, 2, I love you, baby. 3, and she shoves hard and quick through the fear as quick as she can. The arrow snaps, falls to the ground, because moving quickly, the wood was weaker than the flesh on my neck. If she had pulled slowly, pushed slowly, gone tentatively, that eventually, yes, it would have pierced my neck. Those are above my head when I talk to you just about all the time, because I'm reminded to move through my fears, move quickly through them, and ignore them. Feel the fear and do it anyway. So the best way to overcome your fears are to move right through them. Go right through it, just like that you've got an arrow at your neck, because we all have to face our fears at some point, right? We all have to overcome our fears, and really, it can just be a matter of thinking differently. So many fears you have are just because of your thought process. I know it's true with me. It took an arrow at my neck to have it fully illustrated to me, and this is why I teach cooking differently than anyone else in the world. I'm the weird guy with the arrow at my neck, right? And you gotta think a little differently to really think up the cool stuff outside of your comfort zone, which is where all the cool stuff happens, right? So if you have a fear of serving bad food, right? The status fear, here's a thought that you can repeat to yourself. Well, first of all, I want you to ask, is this really true, this first one? I mean, how many times does it really happen that often that you serve something that's just totally unedible? You throw it in the garbage can, nobody eats any of it. I don't think it happens. I think you might be a little hard on yourself. But this is what I want you to think about in those times when you're in the kitchen before service. Repeat this to yourself. It's not done until it's on the plate. Okay? It's not done until it's on the plate means I've made hamburgers, right? And if you use really lean beef without any binders or anything, I've had hamburgers fall apart on me in the kitchen. And I turn them into a fantastic chili. Hey, honey, remember when I said we were going to have hamburgers tonight? You misheard me. I said chili, right? The chili's great. Hamburgers were a disaster. Chili's a great idea. I have saved my cooking so many times with a pantry item or a condiment. Like, oh my goodness, this is turning out so bad. Quick, soy sauce, honey, duck sauce, and it turns into something great. This is why if you like a culinary journey, right? Becoming a carefree cook, you got to embrace all those little disasters. When you really have to call upon your cooking methods, then you can punt in the middle of it, right? Then you can make up something great out of a mistake. It's happened to me dozens of times. And I'm not afraid. I'm not scared. I have no fear of making bad food, because it never winds up bad once it's on the plate. It ain't over till it's on the plate. So don't worry about making bad food, because that's where the great stuff comes from. And you know what? If you're afraid of the cooking process, if you were one of those kids that was shooed out of the kitchen, you can find great solace in repeatable methods. This is what we practice in web cooking classes. We try to repeat the way we cook each time. So if all you got to do is repeat the 9 steps in the basic saute method, then you just change the ingredients each time and you create a new original dish every time, right? The act of cooking becomes the standard, you know, how you cook is the same, then the excitement becomes, what am I going to throw at it? It's not a guessing game, right? It's not a gashing things open and guessing. It's not anywhere where you're probably going to get injured, so you can get rid of that fear. You will not burn yourself. You will not cut yourself when you do the same cooking method over and over and over again. The other kind is scary. Heck yeah. Cooking by methods is fun. It's warm. It's an adventure. Look, if you're afraid of recipes, right? You clutch them and you hold them and you cuddle with them. If you're afraid of recipes, you should be. You're right. Recipes are ruining your cooking. You're right to be afraid of them. And this is easily solved. Just ignore them. Okay, you know, if you have dependable methods of cooking, if you cook the same way each time and just think about changing the ingredients, you get to choose the ingredients, right? You get to make something up every night of the week. You get to cook for special diets. You get to cook for those picky eaters. And you know what? When how you cook is covered, only the creativity of what you cook remains as an option, your fear is gone instantly. Goodbye. I don't have any fear about that anymore. And look, if you have a fear of causing illness, if you really think that undercooking something so badly is going to make people sick, it's really time to dismiss this thought, because it's easily solved. Get yourself a thermometer. Learn how to use your thermometer and know the final finish temperature of food. When you start to quantify your cooking and using a thermometer to measure precise internal temperatures, you can be confident that your food is always safe and perfectly cooked. And the last one, if you're a perfectionist, you know, if you're one of those people that is afraid that your cooking is never good enough, or maybe that you will never learn all there is to know about cooking, well, join the club. That's exactly how I feel. That's exactly how everybody feels. That's why we call it a culinary journey that carefree cooks take together. There is no real destination. It just goes on and on and on as we have fun. And the great thing about learning to cook by method is that you actually learn each time you cook. So this is how it goes. You practice the method stays the same each time, and then when you're done, you look at it and you say, what did I do really well? You know, what will I do again because it worked out perfectly? And what could I do better? And with each time you look at your dish, knowing that the way you cooked is constant, you could say, what did I do well? What could I do better? If you wanted the item to be more brown, maybe you realize it was too wet and moisture inhibits that caramelization of sugars. Make sure you pat the chicken breast dry with a towel next time. If you got too much of like a burnt, smoky taste, well, you know, maybe you need to lean back on the heat a little bit. Maybe your saute of aromatics went on too long. You allowed that fond to get a little too dark. Start earlier before that fond is brown, right? The whole idea is that you move forward. You put away your fears, and you feel the fear and you do it anyway, right? You move forward through these fears because then you own the skill afterward, and you use that skill to beat the fear back when it comes back next time. And then you know what you want to do. You want to be really brave. You really want to go far on this. Cook for someone else. How about that? Invite someone else to dinner. Right? Go knock on someone's door, someone that you see at work, maybe a neighbor, buddy from school, friend of a friend. Cook for someone else. Put your cooking on the line in that respect, and all your fears will be gone. Trust me. As a caterer who cooked for hundreds of people at a time, even thousands of people at a time, cook for a large amount of people, and all your fears in cooking will go away, because it's a trial for you. You get the immediate feedback for them, and I think what you're going to find is that you get a lot of love because people appreciate that, and your pride, your confidence, and your creativity grows, and that's the way to do it. We have a dish of the week this week. Every week on our Carefree Cooks Code broadcast here, I try and pick a dish that stopped me from scrolling. You know what it is? Like I said, I'm in our communities all the time, scrolling, whoa! And something just stops me, and for no particular reason. But you know, the dish of the week this week comes from Ben. Now, there's no photo, and he didn't actually cook anything. But since we're talking about overcoming fears, since we're talking about being brave, Ben is the bravest guy I know this week. All right, so Ben joined our community just this week. He says, hey, everyone, I'm 87. Nope. Going to be 88 this year. A male who's had to take over the role of homemaker, chief cook, and car and bottle washer, he says. He's telling our community his culinary adventures are just beginning. And when he started out, he started gaining weight. And not because he was cooking great, but because he said he was eating a lot of his mistakes. My point exactly. It's never that bad, right? That you can't eat it. You're going to get better, but you don't throw it in the garbage. Well, Ben thought the rules of cooking were pretty much carved in stone. And he's right. Most people do think this. You know, it goes back to Julia Child and beyond that there's one way to learn how to cook. And it's been taught all wrong for decades. But Ben says, to Ben's amazement, Chef Todd's focus on temperatures, the temperatures that cause physical and chemical changes in food. He says it changed my modus operandi forever. Good turn of a phrase. So now his cooking thermometer is out from that obscure drawer in the back of the flatware drawer, and it now occupies a place of honor. He's quantifying his cooking. He's getting braver. Can't you feel it as you read this? The guy is gaining courage with each paragraph. So he says if he can pull himself away from his new adventure, newfound love of the kitchen, he's cooking. He likes dining. He's going to be spending a lot more time in our community and posting not only his successes, but the things that he could improve in the future. And that's the way that you move forward as a carefree cook. Oh, there's one more as well. Vicky, talk about brave. She already took my advice, even though I hadn't given it yet. Vicky says, look, I just pulled up my bootstraps and I invited a friend over for dinner. Friend says yes. So now I gotta cook. No better way to face your fears for sure. Oh, where are we? That's what I owe you. The what am I today? How many of you got the what am I? Did you get it? Somebody asked me, this was a really good question. Somebody wanted to make po' boys, all right? And in the southern United States, they make po' boys. Basically, it's fish or shellfish, breaded, fried, put on a roll. Often there's a sauce, lettuce, tomato. Everybody has a different variation. But one of the sauces that we use in the southern U.S. is called remoulade sauce. Remoulade is a mayonnaise-based sauce, usually with tomato paste and Worcestershire sauce. But the question being asked of me is, how do I make remoulade sauce without mayonnaise? Ooh, that was a stumper for Chef Todd. Well, you can't, I mean, because it's mayonnaise-based sauce. But the more I thought about it, like, what would I replace mayonnaise with? How would I make this different? Tzatziki. A tzatziki sauce. You want to do a po' boy, do a tzatziki sauce with some yogurt, some cucumber, some dill, lemon, a little bit of olive oil, garlic, any other seasonings. I might do like a Cajun tzatziki sauce, put some red pepper in there, something a little bit spicier if you want, or chopped peppers, chopped jalapeno peppers or habaneros if you really want to make it hot. But a tzatziki was the answer to that. So that's our what am I for the day. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google tzatziki sauce, make some. It's really, really easy and you like it. And if you know somebody else that would love to have tzatziki sauce, or actually needs to overcome their fears in cooking. If you know someone that would like to see this video that would benefit from it, please like this video, share it with your friends. And if you know someone or you are at the beginning of your culinary journey, you're going to need a guidebook. Get my 5 forks to carefree cooking and make the right decision at each of the 5 forks you will come to in your journey toward becoming a carefree cook. Go to 5forksguide.com. This is Chef Todd Moore, everyone, reminding you that there is a method to your fearless cooking success, and we'll see you next Tuesday, if not before.